Hello, and welcome to the George Groves Boxing Club, sponsored by Coin Poker. I am freshly shaven for you guys tonight, and this is a quick look back at tonight's action, which was Derek Chisora, 49 fights now as a professional boxer. He took on Otto Wallin, and he was a resounding winner, points winner, in fact, and it went to the judges' scorecards: 117, 109, 116, 110, 114, 112, which was a bit suspicious because Otto Wallin was awful tonight, wasn't he? He was so bad. I'm sorry. I've got to say it. He was awful. Derek Chisora, I don't want to take nothing away from him. He'd done his job. He beat the man convincingly. But he was never really in trouble or in a real fight at all. Toughest thing that Chisora did this evening was get into the ring, because he had a little stumble there on the way in, and I was like, oh no, is that an omen for poor Delboy? You know, he sort of, as he goes up the steps to climb into the ring, he has a little stumble, and he looks old. Now, you know what I'm saying. You know, when you see guys, and that would always be my biggest fear, when they stumble and they look old. And he looked old. It was from the back, so maybe, granted, it might look worse than what it actually was, but I thought he looked old. But he got in the ring, obviously done his bit, you know, suited and booted, cowboy get up. Don't know if he's been binging Yellowstone on Paramount Plus, shout out Paramount Plus, or I don't know, maybe he's celebrating Beyonce's Grammy victories because she won a country album or something's been spammed on my Instagram algorithm of late. But yeah, he come in, he looked the part. Otto Wallin, not so much the part. And let's get into the fight, get into the performance. And the performance from Delboy was good. It was good. It was much of the same. You know, he fights at an uncomfortable pace for himself. I feel like that pace has slowed over the last few years, but why would it not? He's 40 plus years of age now. And, you know, at times, you know, he's in with a southpaw. He's trying new things. He's switching southpaw against the southpaw. And Otto Wallin just couldn't really take any advantage of anything Delboy did tonight whatsoever. He let himself get backed up onto the ropes. You know, he would change that up by letting himself get backed up into a corner. And when he did punch, he didn't punch with any venom, any spite, any intention of hurting Chisora. It was all arm shots and sort of flicky, you know, flicking with the jab, flicking with the backhand. No variety, no head and body. Nothing ever came up through the middle. So Chisora just had his way. And once he settles into a fight, after 3-4 rounds, if you can't then go through your gears like the guys have done who have recently beaten him, like Usyk say, then you got to give him something to worry about. You got to give him something to think about. And at no point tonight did Otto Wallin do that. He just couldn't do that. So Chisora then, he's digging his toes into the floor, and then big haymaker hooks are coming in. You know, one's coming round the side, you know, and the odd one's getting through. The odd one's landing. The odd one's hurting Otto Wallin. Or at least that's what I think, and that's what it felt like from watching the shots rain in on him. Clash of heads come together. You know, the commentary team, they find it, they call it. And then there is the referee obviously comes over, rules it, a clash of heads. Now, we know the scorecards are up in Chisora's favour. Surely they must be. So at this point, Wallin, if this fight gets stopped on the cut, it's going to go to scorecards. You've got no chance of winning. So, again, where's the urgency? Where's the change of pace? Show me something different. And he couldn't. And that was very disappointing. Very disappointing. And I don't want to take anything away from Chisora. He came out, he'd done his bit, and he'd done well. And he drops Wallin in the 9th round. Catches him, just on top of the head, sort of just behind the ear. It's now Wallin's turn to do the old man sort of stumble, and he stumbles right into the neutral corner. He literally goes flying across the ring, hits the deck. He beats the count. He looks hurt, but he's certainly able to continue. But again, nothing from him. Like, it wasn't like he was hurt enough where he had to go in survival mode, or at least he didn't show that in the fight. And at the same time, it wasn't like, oh my god, I've really got to do something now to make sure I win. So that was a shame. He gets dropped again in the 12th round. Chisora drops him. Similar setup, similar shot. But the fight is pretty much over now. Wallin gets up. As he's up, he's beat the count, but he hasn't beat the final bell. Chisora wins, and Chisora rolls on. So, well done to Chisora. I don't want to seem like I'm not happy for him or I'm trying to take credit away. Wallin was disappointing, but Chisora was effective, and he's been like that time and time again throughout his career. Me and Dek got into it this week, looking ahead to this fight, and we ended up making it a Chisora special because he's had such a long career and he's boxed so many contenders of the heavyweight division, and sometimes he's come through, sometimes not. Sometimes he pulls an upset, sometimes he's been beat, but he's boxed well, and there's a lot of names on his resume. After the fight, Chisora wants his moment, and rightly so to a certain degree. He wants his moment, he wants the mic, he wants to set the scene, shall we say. And he gets his pals in the ring. He gets Tiny Temper, he gets Skepta, and he gets Lethal Bizzle. Now, I know all three of them guys are boxing fans. You see them at the shows time and time again. And they're obviously friends and fans of Derek Chisora. Derek gets him in the ring. I don't think they knew what Derek had planned for this sort of the pantomime ending, as it were. But there's a nice big sort of huge envelope, if you will, containing 3 options for his last fight, for his number 50 fight. And I want to ask you guys at home, did anybody pick those 3 fighters? Did anybody even pick one of the 3 fighters? Because none of those 3 were on my list. But he's aiming for the stars, I think, in many ways. He went for Alexander Usyk, the number 1 heavyweight in the world right now, with 3 of the 4 belts, and the best fighter of this sort of current era of heavyweights, and someone who's already he's boxed and been beaten by. He went for Daniel Dubois, and he went for Anthony Joshua. Now the Joshua one, the crowd the Joshua one, the crowd were very excited about, but I don't think we're going to see the Joshua fight. They're both from the amateur club Finchley ABC, so I can't see that happening. They've never spoke about boxing before. Surprise me now if that is the case for his last one, for the big 5-0 bout that's going to happen part of Riyadh season, we assume, because it's not in the UK. So is that the big fight? I don't think it is. I don't think it's Joshua. He gets his old amateur coach Johnny Oliver in the ring, which is a lovely moment. Johnny Oliver, someone who I know, I've known since I was 10, 11 years old, from my amateur boxing days. He is a Finchley man, obviously where Chisora's from, but also where Anthony Joshua's from. And he's been part of both those guys' careers. So I feel like the fact that Johnny Oliver's in there, there's no chance that them two are going to fight, because they're like family. So, but that was a lovely moment. Well done, Delboy, for that, for bigging up Johnny Oliver. Daniel Dubois. Is that the fight that we might sneak through, that we might see? Because this fight tonight was an eliminator of sorts. I'm not sure if it was a final eliminator for the IBF Heavyweight Championship of the World, which obviously Daniel Dubois now holds. They're both from Frank Warren. It's a good fight for Dubois. It's maybe not the toughest of fights. He thinks, I'll land on Chisora, I'll get rid of him. Both, have been trained. Dubois obviously now trained by Don Charles, but Derek Chisora spent an awful long time with Don Charles as well. So, but everything's happened in boxing. That might not necessarily rule out. So I think that might be the maybe of those 3. But if I was asked to name who would it be next, I had a little think, and I went through the Brits. And the Brits that stood out to me were Lawrence Okoli, who's now up at heavyweight. I don't think there's any, friendship there, and not necessarily any beef, but Okoli will see that as a good fight for him, and maybe Chisora will go, I'll have him. He's brand new at heavyweight, and he's got power, but does he want to fight at my pace or whatnot? So that might happen. Wardley, because Wardley's flying right now, and he's with Frank Warren as well, but it's not really necessarily a good fight for Chisora. I don't think he wins that fight, and I think Wardley at the moment, who is just the biggest of toughest of strongest men, I don't really want that one. And then obviously the guy who was there tonight was Dillian Whyte, who back in action. He's back fighting, isn't he? I don't know what he's up to, or what he's been up to, whether he's over a drugs ban, or whether there was never a drugs ban, or whatever there is. But I think this week there's been talk of that fight, and Chisora poured cold water on it and said, "Nah, I've had that fight. You've already beat me. I don't fancy that one again." So yeah, maybe not White, but I was thinking if it was going to be a big name, big fight, big one for the future, I wondered if the last fight would be Big Baby Miller. Big Baby Miller, American, speaks. The trash talk will be flying. Chisora will be up against it when it comes to trashing his guy. But that'd be a fun fight, an interesting fight. Chisora, who wants to come and bring the action in the heavyweight division, will certainly have to do that against Big Baby Miller, someone who throws a lot of punches. So it could be a good one. And he's been humbled now by Dubois. It might be time to get him. Deontay Wilder's back in the picture. Apparently, he's back in the gym. He's talking about making another fight, another comeback. Him and Chisora, I think, is a good fight. I think that works. And Chisora, I wouldn't back against Chisora in that fight. With the form that Wilder's been in of late, as he got old, struggles to let that right hand go at times. That might be the one, or the one that I think I've heard a few people talk about is Francis Ngannou. So obviously the one-on-one, the guy who pushed Tyson Fury to the max, probably should have deserved to win that fight and didn't, but then got knocked out in round or two against Anthony Joshua. Went southpaw, a bit like Derek Chisora tonight. Those two might be switch hitting all night long if those two get in the ring together. So maybe that'll be one that gets made. Maybe that's that one that happens in Africa. Because if you're going to fight, someone in Africa, maybe don't fight Martin Bakoli. Probably don't even fight Anthony Joshua. Maybe Ngannou. Maybe that's the one. So, yeah, that's our thoughts and feelings about this evening. Great night, great win for Derek Chisora. Piss poor from Otto Wallin. And then now we have to go back to the butcher, as we always do, and go, was he any good? Could he actually... is there any wins on his record that are worthy of anything? Is he just famous for going the distance with Tyson Fury? I think it was fantastic matchmaking. And big up Derek Chisora for another big win. Well done him. And, I have to wait and see what's next. And that's that. I'll see you guys next week for the next installment of GGBC. So, see you soon.